shit out there that people don't realize.
Okay.
I think we're
just within the last 30 years.
Are we on? Oh, yeah.
Oh, are we on? Hi,
Yes.
y'all. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Dallas Voice. It's Friday, March the 23rd. This is, for me, Reader's Voice Awards week. If you pick up the latest... Oh, my gosh. Hurts
There we
back. Latest version, Dallas Voice. You can see it up here on one side. It's Reader's Voice Awards. We do this every year in March. And before I go any further, we're going to introduce ourselves. I always forget that.
Hi, everybody. Israel Luna here.
Hi, I'm Devin. How are you?
Devin?
I'm Warren.
I'm Warren. He's Warren and I'm Tammy. He's Warren. I'm Tammy. But anyway, back to this. It's Dallas Voice Awards, and what we do is we ask, beginning in January, we ask the community to go online and vote in these different categories. Best HIV doctor, best mani-pedi, best cocktail menu, best
bar, best hamburger, best...
all those things
Yeah.
in all these categories, and then people vote. There's a drawing. A young woman named Susan Carson won the drawing. She got some theater tickets and some cash.
And you, some of the categories are also kind of funny too, because I know my hairdresser who's been cutting my hair for years and years, Terry Robertson, who works at Supercuts there on Lemon. She won one year because she proudly had it on her mirror. It was biggest gossip.
And we have some of the campier categories, but you know, if you're looking and you want to support people that support the community, for the most part, these people are going to be that, and you know, it's kind of like a recommendation, and it's always a big issue. I think they say this is our third largest issue each year.
Nice.
This is an 80-page paper, and so we've been busy doing all that.
What's one of the more like crazier outside the box categories that you have?
Oh my gosh! I see you're going to make me look. I've been busy working on the news side of it.
Oh, gotcha.
This is the inside. The main categories are dining, metro, pets, shops, health, nightlife, services, shows, travel.
Oh, do y'all have like a best drag queen?
Yes.
Ooh, who won?
Cassie Nova.
Yeah, y'all.
Imagine.
Love Cassie.
Love Cassie. Cassie Nova writes for Dallas Voice.
Mm-hmm.
There's best DJ. Best lesbian club, best drag performer, best place to get a lap dance.
Oh, don't tell me. Tin Room.
Very good.
Ha!
Hottest hookup app.
Grinder.
Mm-hmm. We have best exotic dancer. We have
Who was best exotic dancer?
Max Dakota, and I'm sure that's his real name.
Max Dakota. I don't think I know.
Stallions. I think it's Stallions. But
Oh.
you know, there's it's not a set club. I think it's I don't go there, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Honestly, but it's out there.
I don't think I've ever gotten a lap dance before.
I
I
have.
really haven't.
Both look over his hand.
I promise you I haven't, because if I did, I would tell you. But no.
I have, but it wasn't at the
Oh.
tin room.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
But you know, there's different categories like that. So that's we have our life and style editor, Arnold Wayne Jones, puts a lot of time and effort. Do you know Arnold?
I do know Arnold.
Arnold puts a lot of time and effort into putting together the Reader's Voice Awards for us
Nice.
each year, and doing all the copy and the photos.
It's really cool that you have that, because I know when people win, they really are proud that they won and wear it
hope
as a
so.
badge of honor, and they let everybody know, and they promote it on Facebook and saying, "Oh,
And we give them plaques. We have plaques made up each year, and they get to hang them up. And if you go to our scene section, it's pictures of people with their plaques, you know, and it's.
you need to
I'm
have
glad.
a category of best production studio."
I think you're right.
Oh.
I think you're right. Perhaps that we should consider something for our DVtv. Israel, y'all know, is Israel and Brandy Garcia, who's not Brandy Amara Sky.
Garcia.
Brandy Amara Sky. Sorry, I'm filling out forms at work. Brandy Amara Sky and Israel and I are the regular panel for DVtv Live.
Mm-hmm.
Israel and Brandy and Brad Pritchett and Brian Kennedy. They are all of our DVtv Live. No, DVtv on the Scene crew.
Yes.
And those are, we send them out with cameras and
Yep. And you joined us for one segment
Yeah.
for Impulse Dallas.
and they cover events and things like that. So DVtv Live is different. We just kind of sit around and talk about stuff.
Yes. And sometimes things.
And occasionally a thing or two. But I wanted to talk about the news side. I want everybody, there's so much in the Reader's Voice Awards, you have to just pick it up and read it, or go online and read it for yourselves and find the category that you are looking for information in. What I wanted to talk about is on the news side. That's what I handle mostly. Well, I'm in charge of all of it, but I'm more in charge of news. Arnold does such a good job on lifestyles, I don't have to mess with that so much. Tomorrow at noon at City Hall in Dallas, they're doing the March for Our Lives. Are y'all familiar with that?
No.
It's part of the movement that grew out of the Parkland shootings. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Florida.
Is that when all the kids are rallying to go against the?
Yes.
Okay,
so,
cool.
They're marching for gun control. They call it March for Our Lives because these are the kids that are getting slaughtered in the schools. Mm-hmm. But I had the movement is led by students, and we were talking earlier about children not being mature enough. But at the same time, you have these kids like this that, they're mature enough to lead this movement. And so I believe very strongly in them and what they're doing. But there's a march tomorrow, noon at City Hall. It's going to be a very short march, maybe quarter mile, and then there'll be a rally. And you talk to this young woman named... Sophie Conde, Conde. She's a junior at Frisco High School, Centennial High School in Frisco, and she's one of the people organizing this event. And she's 17, and they're all about that age, college age. But she's a lesbian, and she was telling me about coming out, and being bullied because she dated too many guys in junior high school. And so that's when she came out, they didn't believe her because, oh, no, you dated all the boys. How are you gay, But, it's real severe bullying stuff that was going on when she was in middle school. And then she's, they're, like I said, they are organizing these marches. Children, kids, young people, teenagers and college-age kids are organizing these marches all across the country tomorrow. So there's one in Fort Worth. Starts at 10.
So would you happen to know how Dallas got wind of it and who stepped up? Was it her that stepped up and said, we need to do this in Dallas, or how did that happen?
Well, it started, the students from the school in Florida, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, have become famous. They're going to be on the cover of Time magazine, some of them, because they immediately, on Valentine's Day, 17 people in their school were gunned down.
I saw the Time magazine cover on Facebook this morning.
And these kids immediately started stepping up and saying, you've got to do something. We are dying. We expect you to do something. They're the ones calling out the NRA, and just insisting in marches. They staged the walkout last week. Kids here didn't do it because we were all on spring break.
And one thing that I also love is they're not allowing the general public and the media to forget. Like a month later, you normally do after a shooting. It's like, oh, it's old news. Now we're talking about the Kardashians, and we're talking about this new TV show that came out. They're not letting it go away. They keep coming up, and I'm loving that they're sustaining.
They did the walkout all over the country last week. Around here, schools were on break, and so there was no walkouts. But they've done things. They've had die-ins out in front of the White House. They march, they protest, they do memorials, they're doing these marches. Y'all, the NRA is going to be holding its annual convention in Dallas in May. These folks are going to be, probably organizing some stuff around that.
What's the woman's name that's representing?
I don't know her
NRA
name.
with
Bitch. Her name is Bitch.
Exactly. She's
evil bitch.
Have y'all
Bitch
seen
is her last name.
the videos with her and the interviews? It's just it gives nothing.
She's
but
very hateful.
Yeah, like negative energy, and it's everyone's fault, and everyone's terrible, and we're the victim.
How dare you be mad at the NRA?
Oh man, and it's actually someone who you would definitely expect to represent the NRA. Not friendly, not nice, a total bitch, and it's.
I don't know her name. I can't remember, but I don't like her.
Yeah,
but
that's all that matters. We don't know her name.
We don't have to.
We don't have to, exactly.
Evil NRA bitch. NRA
Hyphenated.
Exactly. But there's that. There's other stuff in the news. We're going to talk real quick about more news so that when we come back after break, we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
And things. The Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund has endorsed Lupe Valdez for governor.
Okay.
Wow. That's a good thing because the Victory Fund has a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm. And you both know about Lupe Valdez. She's our city sheriff who is Latina
Dallas
and
County.
lesbian.
Dallas County former now because she resigned to run for governor.
Right, yeah.
So
it's
now
been
our
a big
sheriff
deal.
is a black woman.
Really? Oh my gosh, I love her already. Because I'm secretly a black woman inside.
You are.
Yeah.
Probably your sister. She's temporary sheriff and is running for the office now.
Nice.
And I apologize, I cannot. Brown, I believe it's her last.
Yeah, and the reason I keep bringing up like little things like, oh, do y'all know who this? Do y'all know who this is because today our guests are of the younger generation. What are y'all's generation called? Generation
Millennial?
Z?
Oh, we're under that?
Is it Z?
Are y'all I think they're beyond millennial. I think they're younger than millennials, aren't you?
Oh.
Yeah, you're younger than millennials.
You're on the
those are
verge.
30.
We're 90s kids.
Yeah.
You're
yeah,
90s kids?
We're 90s kids.
Yeah.
We're going to say we're generation on the verge.
Yeah. So for me personally, I get excited to talk to people like you because I don't know a lot as far as like what things you know and what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So because I know when we first met, I was like, ooh, so now what popular music was happening when you started getting into music, and do you know who Madonna is? Do you know this person's music? He didn't know who Kylie Minogue was, and I'm like, this is so exciting. I get to.
I may have just had a seizure.
And just the other night, Tammy, you'll appreciate this.
Maybe.
I had invited you to, but you didn't get to come. But what movie was I dying to show all of you?
The Color Purple.
They had never seen The Color Purple. Exactly.
That was like his reaction. It was intense.
Exactly. That's what I kept thinking. What? You must see this movie. So, and his reaction to it when I invited him was, I checked out the trailer. I don't think it's my thing. I said, what did I say? I said, bitch, you're black.
He did say that.
You have to see
That is your thing.
In all caps, he said
in all caps. Bitch, you're black.
He said that in caps. All right, y'all, we got to take a break real quick because the thing beeped at us. We'll be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Keep watching. And if you're watching and want to comment on what we're saying, please do.
Yep, I'm here watching it live.
He's watching it live, so if you're watching us, you can type a comment in and we'll answer or we'll laugh or something. All right, we'll be back in a minute. Oh, God, Neil, I really feel old. You didn't?
Hi, I'm Israel Luna. I've been a working filmmaker, editor, and writer since 2001. I've produced 10 full-length films, screened at some of the biggest film festivals like Robert De Niro's Tribeca Film Festival, and made deals with LA distribution companies, resulting in my films being in circulation nationally and internationally in movie theaters, digital formats, and retail outlets like Walmart, Best Buy, Target, and many others. It's been a crazy ride. A rough ride, but a very rewarding one. It feels good to wake up every morning knowing that filmmaking is my job. In saying that, remember, it is a job, but a fun one that I love doing. People have asked me many times, how do you do it? How can I make a living making movies? Well, it's not something I can easily answer because there are so many facets to it. And this doesn't just mean filmmaking. It's about making a living off of your artistic expression, whether it be filmmaking, acting, painting, dancing, or anything else you may be good at. Take what you love doing and monetize it. Which leads me to today. I've decided to begin a weekly workshop to help guide you through all of the ins and outs of making a living from your art and creativity. I'm here to lead you into being your own boss as an artist and creative, just like me. I'll do my best to have you live, breathe, eat, sleep, and most importantly, live financially on your creations and artistic expression. I'll see you there.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here? I'm leaving.
Hey. You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
Welcome back. We're going to talk. We've talked about what's in the paper. We've talked about news. One thing I do want to mention, I think it's tonight and tomorrow night, Turtle Creek Corral has a concert. It's called Anthems. And they're going to be presenting the Peacemaker Awards. Check that out.
So Anthems. So what theme is that? What does that mean
I think
for the
it's,
show? I'm going to make it.
Read the damn story. I didn't write it.
Never mind it.
It's a song cycle.
Okay.
One of the most significant things this organization has ever presented. That's what the director says, or the executive director.
And that's Sean Ball, right?
No, the executive director is Bruce Jaster.
Bruce Jaster. Okay.
Sean is artistic director.
Gotcha.
I've
known
but
Sean
they're
for a long
gonna
time.
they're gonna give Peacemaker Awards. Mike Rawlings, the mayor of Dallas, Dale Hansen, and then Matrice Ellis Kirk, who is the wife of our former mayor, Ron Kirk. They are going to get awards, thanking them for the things that they have done for our community and for the community at large. But it's just about songs that come from different movements.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
So
I like it.
the
So
civil
they're
rights
anthems,
movement,
yeah.
anthems of these different movements, the women's rights, civil rights. So that's going on this weekend too.
You know, one song that comes to mind when it comes to like an anthem or something that's super significant and timely is Bette Midler's "From a Distance."
Oh yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. The words, the lyrics. I bet y'all don't know.
Do you know
that.
who Bette Midler is? Oh God.
Well,
You're lying, right?
No. I think I know who she is. She has brown hair.
Sometimes.
I don't know who she is.
Sugar baby. Oh,
I'm sorry. I tried.
it's okay. This is something I want to talk about.
Okay.
I mean, this is a good thing for us to spend the rest. Not Bette Midler. I love Bette Midler, and you need to know who she is. But the idea that there are gay people, so many young gay people who really have no clue about what people my age think of as gay, and you know, and who are our icons? I'm gonna say Cher. I'm gonna hope you know
Yes,
Cher.
we know who Cher
Okay,
is.
see, okay, we got an icon there.
Madonna,
You know
Yes.
Banana? Okay, I'm sure you know Gaga because she's y'all.
Well, yeah. she's-
Kylie Minogue,
Y'all didn't know
No.
Kylie Minogue, did you?
I don't know who that is.
Girl, Bette Midler.
Bette Midler.
You need to know Bette Midler.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
it's funny that
God.
you're bringing this up, Tanny, because for me, I even brought this up to the Resource Center of Dallas when I first got this studio. I said I would love a once a month movie night to educate the younger generations of our gay culture and the gay icons and gay films that made a difference, that helped pave the way for the current films. And they loved the idea, and then it just never came to fruition. So what I'm kind of doing is doing it on my own. The first one being The Color Purple. And I know when I meet someone new, and like when I met Warren, I was like, what about this? What about this? Do you know this? Do you know this? And I was having a great time introducing him just to things, just for him to know certain things, like almost like a gay orientation of
Yes,
things, you know?
Gay 101, y'all.
Gay 101, yeah.
He actually introduced me to Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything. And right after I watched
know
that
that one?
movie,
No.
Oh Lord,
I'm even upset with you. at
honey,
this
Wesley
one.
Snipes in a dress.
Yeah.
And Patrick
Oh,
Swayze,
Swayze.
and yeah. But what
It's
were you going to say?
wonderful.
Right after I watched that movie, I went home. I told my mother about it, and I told all my friends that are like a little bit older. And they're like freaking out. They're like, "I can't believe you saw that movie. That movie was so good." And I was kind of like what they grew up watching. And I was like,
Yeah, because it was funny, and it was a sign. Because when I first asked you if you'd seen the movie, you said no, and like the next day it came out on Netflix,
Oh yeah.
and I said
Is
we're
it-
watching it.
Is it on there now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's on
girl, I may
Netflix.
have to go home and watch that tonight after the gym.
Yeah, and you know, Tu Wong
Love that.
Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar, is the American version of the Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. That's pretty much kind of the same concept, but in
Road
Australia.
trip.
Road
Drag
trip
queen-
in Australia.
Drag Queen Road Trip. Have you seen Priscilla?
Queen of the Desert. We should watch that.
It's a good one. You should. It's good. It's set it. Oh, there's some fabulous scenes. But you've got these three drag. Well, it's a trans woman and two drag queens, and they're in this old bus that doesn't run, and they're going through the desert in Australia to get to this nightclub,
Casino.
something. Is it a casino?
It's a
that's
casino.
out in the desert
To perform.
And one of the drag queens' wife and mother of his child, but she was a lesbian and he was gay man, and they had this. Anyway,
Don't give them all the twists. There's
they're,
like
they're
certain-
going to this place and they're going through the desert, and it's about all these people they meet on the road.
And then when it breaks down in the middle of nowhere with nothing but these crazy outfits, they're like, "What do we
Right.
do? We have no
And
regular
they
clothes."
do a show in this dive redneck Australian. It's fabulous. I love that movie.
Very good movie.
And then Tu Wong Fu is kind of like he said, American version. It's a drag queens in a convertible going across the country for a drag pageant.
And get broken down in a small
break down.
town of like 50 people.
And
Okay.
how they have to
Adjust.
Did you just do a you on me? She just did a you on me.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the old lady where she's trying to run away from it. Did you just do a Yui?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yes.
But see, we have got to do better, Israel.
I know. I'm trying. I'm doing my part. I'm doing as much as I can to say,
Because-
"Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this?" Without
and it's about
pissing
more
them
than
off.
just it's about more than just and running them off.
yeah.
About more than just movies and cultural stuff. It's about our movement, and what these movies, the role these movies played. I mean, you guys, you had a hard time. You told me a little bit about what you did, but you have a hard time. But these days, you have gay straight alliances in the high schools. You have these kids who are out there. They're very vocal about being openly gay. And in my era, that you couldn't even talk about that. I mean, it was,
Well, I know.
we have newspapers now. When I was a kid, people were run out of town. You weren't just thrown out of your house. You were run out of town.
I kind of have to say something about the GSA clubs that I grew up with in my high schools, because my high school was a white privilege, sexist place ran by our assistant principals, and I was actually denied being on the cheerleading squad because our principal, who was in charge of the cheer program, said boys do spirit squad, girls had to be cheerleaders. So guys and girls couldn't be the same thing, because we even tried getting girls to be on the spirit squad when guys didn't want to do it anymore. They're like, no, girls have to be cheerleaders, guys have to do this.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yeah, and our GSA club in my high school got zero support. Our principals didn't care. Every fundraiser that we tried to do was just put off to the side, got no funding, got nothing. Even when they wanted to do the Day of Silence and wanted to do the little rainbow ribbons, our school kind of just shunned it off as just passing it off.
But you had a gay-straight alliance. The very idea of a gay-straight alliance in 1970-something Jasper, Texas.
Yeah. Is unheard of.
They'd have thrown you on the altar and done an exorcism for the demons, and then they would have done some shock therapy on your
definitely
head,
a step, but I think it needs to be taken serious more, because you have kids that are growing up that don't have this kind of safe place to go because they're gay and lesbian. I did, because my family was so supportive of it when I came out, and I thankfully had gay friends that looked out for me, and I even still now have gay friends that looked out for me. But I've had friends that didn't have that growing up, and they were kind of just thrown by themselves. And it's nice to know that high schools have this, but I think it needs to be a thing that's taken more serious, because it's definitely something that people are going through that need to be.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
it
is definitely important.
By the way, we did get a few comments. Someone said, Cassie Quinn says, Bette Midler, I thought everyone would know her. And then Tracy Jones says she was listing a few other gay films that you guys need to see. A Beautiful Thing, which was very good in the 90s, mid-90s. And Get Real, both British films, and they're both awesome. And then, of course, Tracy says Spidersville, which was the small town in Tuong Fu that they got abandoned in. Spidersville.
I'd forgotten that. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Cassie, for participating.
Another film that I had told you about, and we haven't seen it yet. Excuse me. On top of the big iconic films and the films that were important, some of them that were kind of overlooked. Victor Victoria.
That is one of my all-time favorite
Mine
movies.
too.
I could quote that. We used to watch it just on weekends because we had nothing else to do.
This is a movie that came out in the 80s. Julie Andrews and Robert Preston, and it's pretty much about a gay man. James Garner, a gay man and his best friend, who's a girl, and she's a starving artist. And he convinces her to pretend to be a man and do drag on stage because she can sing.
Julie Andrews plays a woman pretending to be a man.
Pretending to be a woman. Yeah.
And it is magnificent. Oh my God, the bathroom! Have you seen the bathroom?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, my favorite
experience.
He's teaching her how to be a drag queen, and so he's like, lower your voice, and she's like, me. He's like, lower. Me, too low, a little higher, me. And then he's like, okay, now you're going to be on stage. And she's singing and doing this. He's like, no, big shoulder moves. You're a drag queen.
Lots of shoulders.
And of course, I didn't even know half of what I was watching because I was just a kid, but I knew I loved it and I connected to it.
Absolutely. And here's what I've got one that you may not even have heard of because it's from the 70s and I watched it in the 80s. It's called The Ritz. And it's got Rita Moreno.
Yes.
And
it's at
Abrams,
a bathhouse.
Yes.
Yeah. It takes place at a bathhouse.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
I
I've seen
love
it.
that movie. You have got to
I was very
before
fortunate.
AIDS. The Ritz came out before AIDS, so
I was very fortunate to have one friend whose name was James. And
one friend.
Yeah. Well, no, one friend. Honestly, that made me sit down and watch all of these films when I first moved to Dallas in 1993. And he has since passed on. But he is the one that told me about all of these films. I had no clue what these films were, and he said, you're going to love it, and you're going to appreciate it when you get older. And he was completely correct. And one of the things was, this was before the internet and everything. Amistad Maupin's Tales of the City was going to be on PBS. The entire community, the gay community, everyone was talking about you have to go home and watch it, because this was before DVR, before anything. You had to sit down and watch it, and that's the only way you got to see it.
And it was a series.
And it was a series,
based
and it
on
was
his books.
based on his books, and it had so many gay themes in it. And it was unheard of to watch not only a gay-themed film, but an actual series on PBS that was all about you.
The gay people in San Francisco. Yeah.
And we're like, what? They're representing us? And everyone was glued to the TV, and it was an amazing, well-written series with big Hollywood actors in it that made you feel like you were important and you mattered, finally.
That you were not by yourself.
Yeah.
I know everybody at some point feels like there's something about them that makes them different, whatever it is. And I'm the only one. I'm the only person like this in the whole world. Yep. And when you're gay and you're by yourself in all of this, and then that one thing happens, and you're like, I'm not the only one. I'm truly not the only one.
Yeah, and and it makes you legitimate. Like you feel legitimate.
You're Maria von Trapp spinning in the flowers on the mountainside singing because you're so happy that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Well, I know what you're talking about.
Julie Andrews. I'm Julie Andrews.
Who was in Victor Victoria?
Yes, indeed. Okay, we need to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Israel Luna. I've been a working filmmaker, editor, and writer since 2001. I've produced 10 full-length films, screened at some of the biggest film festivals like Robert De Niro's Tribeca Film Festival, and made deals with LA distribution companies, resulting in my films being in circulation nationally and internationally in movie theaters, digital formats, and retail outlets like Walmart, Best Buy, Target, and many others. It's been a crazy ride. A rough ride, but a very rewarding one. It feels good to wake up every morning knowing that filmmaking is my job. In saying that, remember, it is a job, but a fun one that I love doing. People have asked me many times, how do you do it? How can I make a living making movies? Well, it's not something I can easily answer because there are so many facets to it. And this doesn't just mean filmmaking. It's about making a living off of your artistic expression, whether it be filmmaking, acting, painting, dancing, or anything else you may be good at. Take what you love doing and monetize it. Which leads me to today. I've decided to begin a weekly workshop to help guide you through all of the ins and outs of making a living from your art and creativity. I'm here to lead you into being your own boss as an artist and creative, just like me. I'll do my best to have you live, breathe, eat, sleep, and most importantly, live financially on your creations and artistic expression. I'll see you there. We are live now.
We're back. We have been talking about movies and things that young people don't know.
That they haven't been exposed to for whatever
Yeah.
reason. You know what? Let me ask that really quick. Why do you think you don't know about these films? You just don't have that person in your life, or what's going on?
Probably that one. No one showed me or told me about anything like that. So
Let me ask, and I'm very big on the idea that if you don't know your history, you're going to repeat your history. And I'm one of those people who is really, at this point in our country, I really have a fear that we're about to lose a lot of stuff that people in our age and before us fought really hard so that y'all didn't have to. And I see a lot of things happening. We're on a brink. And hopefully we're going to fall on the right side of that knife's edge we're balancing on. But do you know the history? Do you know Stonewall?
we have a group called Stonewall Democrats.
That's a
right?
start.
Okay.
Knowing that.
Yeah.
There's Stonewall, but you don't know about the Stonewall riots. You don't know why June is Gay Pride Month.
No.
Okay, so I'll say I don't know why it's June either.
Because that's when the Stonewall riots happened.
Oh, is that when? Okay. I know about Stonewall. I just didn't know that specifically.
June
That's why it was
29th.
in June. Okay. Got it.
1969. Okay. And for those of you who know this history, listen anyway. 1969 in New York, there was a bar called the Stonewall Inn. And in 1969 in New York, it was illegal to be gay. Okay. And you know, they weren't supposed to, you know.
So they
most of the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So for people to want to just go and be around people, they had to go down back alleys and have little holes in the wall that the city didn't know about. And so you would go in there and have drinks and meet other gay people, but it was completely hidden. There were no storefronts of it. You had to know through word of mouth. And when the police wanted to, they knew they existed, but when they wanted to, they would just go in there and raid everybody, arrest everyone, humiliate them on camera, take them to jail, ruin their lives with their families, blah blah blah.
A lot of the bars that catered to the gay community back then were owned by the mafia, and they paid off the cops and stuff like that. There was a lot of dealings going on, but the Stonewall was a bar where a lot of the very effeminate gay men went. You know, it was just a bar, a neighborhood bar. It was in the village, Greenwich Village.
Drag queens,
a lot of drag queens, a lot of trans women that went there, a lot of the real butch lesbians, you know, that had the hair slicked back and the chains on their wallets and stuff. And that's where they would go and hang out. And they were not higher echelon society. They were not people with a lot of money. And they would get raided a lot. They'd go in and, like you said, they'd arrest them and they would... So this
and
one
not
night,
just that, it'd get violent. The cops would like beat them up, slam them on the ground, break their arms.
It was nasty, and they could get away with it because it was just the queers.
Yeah,
and nobody
who's going to care? I mean, media's not going to care. Governors aren't going to care. Politics, they're going to say, "Oh, those gay people that dress up like as women and stuff." Yeah,
The
who
queers.
cares? So it's almost like it was lawless.
And
There was no
homos.
law there.
And so one night, and everybody said it was like July 29th or 28th. It was Judy Garland had died. Judy Garland was Lady Gaga.
Dorothy from
okay. Yeah.
Okay, but Judy
From
Garland
Wizard of
was
Oz.
the icon. That was the one. I mean, you know how everybody loves Lady Gaga, right? Everybody loved Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And she had died. And all these people were very upset, and that's, you know, everybody was mad because Judy Garland. But there was more to it. It had been building up, and people were tired of the cops taking payoffs and stuff like this. So they came in, and they were going to raid the bar. It was going to just be the normal thing, and the queers got mad, and they fought back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was riots in the streets for days.
And they fought back.
They set cars on fire.
They set cars on fire. When the cops came in and they started doing the same thing, I guess they were pissed off, one, because they were trying to celebrate something like of an icon dying. They started getting bricks. They started throwing them back at the cops.
They were throwing pennies. They were throwing money at them because they took payoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were taking people out, put them in the paddy wagon to arrest them, and like the drag queens and the butch lesbians and the really effeminate gay boys are the ones who stood up, and they fought back.
Mm-hmm. And they stopped them. And the
cops were barricaded in the bar for a while because they couldn't get out because everybody outside.
They had
everybody
enough.
in the neighborhood is like, oh my God, look, this is what's happening. And everybody just come down. And the village is all these windy little roads and back. And the cops would start chasing them down this way, and then they could go this way, and the cops would know where they were, and they'd come back around here, and it went on for 3 or 4 days. And you know,
they had
4
had
nights.
enough, and it made the news because they fought back, and that's the beginning of them paying attention to us because we're like, no more.
It's like the birth. They call it the birth of the modern gay rights movement, and that's why most people have most places have their gay pride parades are in June. June is National Gay Pride Month. You know, they had the first like gay pride parade it was really more of a protest march was a year later in New York, and Dallas had our first parade in 1972, I think.
That's so very progressive for that time period.
Oh yeah. Dallas has always been a little bit ahead in terms of those things, I think. But that's where those are the people that you told me earlier when we were not on the mic or on camera that I was afraid of drag queens. The drag queens are the ones, girl, maybe you should be afraid because they're the ones. They're the ones who gay. You know, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have a gay newspaper. We wouldn't be where we are without them.
Tracy Jones just sent a link on this thread of a link that you can go to about history.com. Excuse me. Now, I will say, don't watch the movie. There's a movie that was based on.
I've not watched that one. I've heard it wasn't good.
But yeah, it was not good. It didn't represent it properly. They put, quote, the white folks to save the day instead of the drag queens.
The drag queens and the people of color were the ones who were there.
And because somebody spoke up about that and the fact that they weren't being very truthful, the movie flopped. Mm-hmm. But the best thing to do is go to Netflix. I can do it with you guys too, is go to the documentary section and do all of the documentaries about Stonewall, about gay rights, and those are really amazing and eye-opening.
Yeah,
but it goes back before that. No, I don't remember, maybe 1965, I think, or I can't remember off the top of my head if it was 65 or 66. In Philadelphia, they had a group of gay men and lesbians who were very politically active and oriented, and on July 4th they would go down to Independence Hall and they would have a march, and they would all dress very business, suits and dresses and tie, and they would go and they would just very quietly, very, very calm, orderly march in front of Independence Hall and walk around with signs basically saying, we are humans, and you need to treat us like humans. And that started before Stonewall. There was an organization called the Mattachine Society that was started before then, in the 50s. There was somebody, I think it was in the 1920s, in Chicago that started one of the first, they called it back then a homophile organization. And I can't remember his name, but I've blogged about him before. But
do you know anything about Harvey Milk?
I do know a lot.
Absolutely.
That's
Harvey
the first
Milk.
movie I saw that was like that, but I was so young I don't really remember.
Now, I did an actual like a protest for that film. When it came out, the owner or the CEO of Cinemark Theaters had given to anti-gay organizations. And that was one of the theaters that was going to be screening Milk. And I thought, that's kind of hypocritical that you're giving toward anti-gay stuff, but you're going to want to make money off of this movie about Harvey
film.
Milk. So I said, no. So what I did was, I organized a group. We went in front of the Cinemark Theater where...
it was like in Plano or something, wasn't
in Plano, yeah. In Frisco.
Frisco.
Excuse me. The only other theater that was going to be playing it in most of that area was an Angelica Theater. So what we did was we went out there with protest signs, and my sign said, if you're here to watch the movie Milk, talk to me first. So I had cars coming over, and they said, yeah, what's going on? And I explained to them what was going on, and I said, I'll make you a deal. If you don't watch the movie here, I'll give you 2 free passes to watch it at the Angelica Theater 5 miles from here. And everyone I asked said yes, because my point was, I don't want this theater to make 1 dime off of this movie while it's playing in Dallas. And we were successful. They didn't make $1.
Wow, that's good. I remember that. I didn't realize they didn't make any money. But yeah, Harvey Milk, I mean, that was like the 70s, and he was in New York, and he began started in New York. He actually lived here in Dallas for a hot second, not long, but he was here for a while and then out there. And there's so many things about our history that so many people don't know, you know, and it's...
No, in saying that, I also want to kind of turn the tables for a second. I would love to know, you know, when you have someone like us saying, oh, you need to know this, you need to know that. I'm wondering, from your generation, what would you like for us to know that we may not know about being a younger gay person?
That's a good question.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, because we're sitting here treating, you know, not treating you like
I mean, we're giving you a lot of information. It might be overwhelming.
But it's like, I don't want you to feel like we're just talking down to you.
No, that's not how it feels.
I mean,
it's like education.
I kind of feel like a lot of the younger generation gay people don't know a lot of this information at all because it didn't happen really in our time. And that's not really what shaped our kind of generation. And it's not... I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't have an effect, but it's not something that we see like today that's going on. Like, if that makes sense.
It did shape your generation, but you don't know that it did.
Because we're not...
I mean, and it's not, you're not going to be taught in any history class.
Yeah, because I feel like because we're the younger generation and we don't know anyone from that generation really, unless we like put ourselves out there and like look for it. But I mean... I want to be honest, people my age and probably his age, when they're gay, they're going out there to hook up and to have fun and party. They're not going out there searching for
to learn. Not at all. They don't care.
Do you feel there's a bit of a responsibility from you because there isn't a class at school for you to like sort of like educate yourself and like look into things?
Ourselves, yes. But the other people our age may not care.
Let me ask you a question. I came out in the early 80s, you know, started hanging out. And then the next thing you know, there was AIDS. And when I was your age, all I cared about, I mean, I don't have a college degree because I majored in the Village Station. Okay.
The S4.
Oh, it's what the S4 was called before. It was the gay bar. It was huge.
Yeah, Village Station.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted to party. That's what we did. We were not out. We did not care. Okay, ooh, yay, parade. We're going to go out here and be gay in public. We didn't know where it came from. But then we had to learn because then came AIDS. And we had to start figuring out where we stood and why we stood where we stood and what we needed to do. You know, and so we fought. And I think there's probably a lot of people who wouldn't have started that fight, would not have gotten into that fight if we were not dying the way we did. I'm afraid that there are people your age who really have no concept about what the AIDS epidemic is and was.
I kind of feel like for our generation to start learning about our history, there has to be like another epidemic for
that to happen.
Don't say that, huh?
Right.
I know it's bad to say, but that's really what it is coming down to.
They're not going to care.
Because they're not going to care.
Not
right
at all.
now.
Well, do you think like
breaks
when someone like me comes up to you, like for example, when I first met you and I said, have you heard of Tu Wong Fu? Does that make you think, I want to see this movie, or does it make you think, can you please shut up and stop talking down to me like I don't know anything?
It depends on who is saying it and when you're saying it. Because if something else is going on in pop culture, no one's going to want to watch that. So it depends on the timing, because everyone our age is not as receptive as we are to this information. Like, I think we are the exception to that. Most people don't care.
Because I don't want to irritate anybody. I mean, I have all of this information that I want to share, but I don't want to irritate you, you know?
I think there is kind of an irritation from the younger generation, because when you put a label like on our generation, especially with being gay, they think of it more as, oh, they're going out, hooking up, partying, clubbing with each other, doing drugs, stuff like that. And they're not really educating themselves on certain matters. Like, I went to a screening at Black Panther. I can't remember what group was hosting it, but it was a gay group. And before the screening of Black Panther, they actually did like a statement on HIV prevention and PrEP. Like, they did a whole presentation of PrEP and stuff like that before the actual showing. And I think that's definitely a very good thing to be doing, especially with the younger generation, especially with something as blockbuster as Black Panther was. And I think that's definitely going to help educate more people. And I think that's definitely should be something that is taken advantage more of. Because I feel like now people are just labeling themselves as gay and going out and partying and not really knowing their history about what happened for them to be able to label themselves.
We are way past time to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I rambled on about.
No, that's good. I have.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here? I'm leaving.
Hey! You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
Are we back?
Yes.
We're back.
We are back. Welcome back. We're here for a very quick 8-minute segment, and since we're running a little late, I think we're going to wind up at the end of this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So, go ahead, Israel. You had a question that you wanted to ask. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask it to our two guests because I know we've been kind of overwhelming them with so many things. Like, do you know about that?
Apologize for that, yes.
Yeah,
Get excited.
These people, these events, these movies, oh my gosh, you need to know. So I was just kind of wondering, what can someone of your age teach us, whether it's something of super significance or something pop culture-wise or something that is important to you or your generation that we may not know?
Wow.
I don't know.
Because I know you had mentioned a movie that you wanted to see.
Yeah, I really want to see that Love, Simon movie that's coming. Or it's actually already out in theaters. And I really want to see it because for my generation specifically, there hasn't really been a lot of blockbuster movies that have come out that have like represented my generation. Because it's about a high school kid who's hiding from his friends and family the truth that he's gay.
Oh, yes.
And it's just a story about coming out. And I think that's a very powerful thing to be putting into theaters and giving as much love as it is now, because that's the transition that happens is in high school, is when you start to come out to your friends and family like, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I like. And I think that Love, Simon is definitely going to be a very positive look at how gay people are like in high school when they're facing the struggle of coming out, because not a lot of people understand that. And I kind of see how it is that with the older generation trying to mentor the younger generation with, say, like high schoolers, maybe like college people. For me, I'm kind of feeling like we're still trying to find our place. We're still trying to be comfortable with ourselves and who we are and find what our placement is in the gay community. And when we're being told by the older generation, like, do you know who this is? Have you seen this? Have you heard of this? I kind of feel like it's a positive thing to be saying, but I think it's kind of one of those things that you're kind of forcing something to be said onto the younger generation when they're still trying to find their path into finding themselves in the gay community.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Pardon me. As a parent especially, I think you have a tendency, I know that I have a tendency to want to explain things to my kids and say, do this or don't do this, because I don't want them to make the mistakes that I made when I was a kid. And I know that we forget sometimes that we have to let people make their own mistakes and be their own people. But, I mean, Israel and I lived through a time in the LGBT community when making your own mistakes was fatal. And we don't want you to do that again, you know.
Yeah.
So we get carried away sometimes.
Which is why I understand, like, that y'all are so supportive of the younger generation and y'all are wanting them to learn about what's happened because y'all went through that traumatic experience growing up. And for us, we don't really have that traumatic experience, so we're not faced with the situation of life or death within the gay community. We're kind of just faced with who we're growing to be, and not really, oh, doing this could kill me.
Well, I know from my perspective, when I think of your generation, you had mentioned something about, oh, we're all sluts and we all want to go out and we all want to be partiers. Honestly, when I think of your generation, I think, no, not necessarily. I think of you guys as buried into your phone, social media, everything. That's what I think. I don't see the sexual part. I just see that's the ignorance there, is you'd rather just be finding out how many followers you have as opposed to history.
I definitely see the sexual nature. I guess because I'm like part of the generation that it is, that it's not really shared outside of the age gap that it is. And so the older generation doesn't really know about it. But with the younger generation, like I've tried getting into relationships throughout high school and stuff. But every person that I've come across, they're like, no, I just want to hook up, or no, I just want to go out and party.
Even with the girls, you tell them that you're gay and they automatically start asking you for these like stories that they want to hear, or else they want to live vicariously through you, or else like every conversation is just sexual.
Well, you know, it's interesting when you were talking about Love, Simon, because, and I'm guilty of this, is when I'm going to make a film and someone says, ooh, you should do one about like coming out and everything, my initial response is, oh, those movies have been done. We've moved on since then. Well, I've moved on since then, but there are still people that are going through that. So I'm so, you know, this is eye-opening to me, because someone had even posted something about Love, Simon, saying, for those of you people who don't know the history of Love, Simon and the significance of this film and the fact that they've made it a movie, educate yourself. And I thought, I don't know much about this movie, so I'm about to educate myself.
I mean, I kind of think it's different between the different generations of coming out, because with y'all's generation and maybe even and with generations before y'all, coming out was a lot more riskier than it is now. Because now,
in some ways,
yes,
and now we're more accepted. I mean, we're not completely accepted, but I mean, we're able to.
It's better.
Be public about it.
Yeah.
But back in y'all's generation and generations before y'all, coming out could get you killed. It could get you tortured. It could get you disowned.
Home and shocked there. I actually had a friend from college who, when he came out to his parents, they sent him to a counselor, and he had electroshock therapy performed on him.
Oh my gosh.
So I definitely think it changes with the generations. And yes, there are the different coming out movies, but with each movie that there is about it tells the different story about each generation.
I think that we get so caught up in, I mean, you guys are, we do this and we're partying out. People our age, that's what we did. Yeah, we knew how to party. Trust me. We knew how to party. But we forget that, we had our struggles coming out and things that we dealt with in our Israel's younger than I am, but, each of us, each generation, you have your struggles. And in my generation, you weren't out in high school or college. You had to wait till you could support yourself and just be secret about it.
Tracy had commented, and she said, I think because of what we saw or we experienced as the older generation feeds the fear we may have for younger generations in the LGBTQ community. We don't want them to go through any of the difficulties we did.
Exactly. And we don't stop and think that the difficulties that, we think, you've got it so easy, but we're not paying attention to the difficulties you do have. Just because they're not the ones we face don't mean that they're not there.
Right. Yeah.
So, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, we still have a lot of issues. We still have people committing suicide because of that. So I don't know when it's going to go away, but hopefully soon.
I hope.
I also kind of feel like there's not really a class or something that as gay people that we can take to teach us what's happened in the past or to give us this kind of information about what other generations have gone through. Because yes, we have gay straight alliances in high school, but they don't really teach you anything about it. It's just a bunch of students trying to raise funds for an organization that they don't completely understand themselves.
So, Tammy, I have an idea.
Okay.
The Dallas Voice and La Luna Entertainment should partner up and figure something out about having a Gay 101 class.
Okay, let's see what we can do about that.
That can be outside of the school system. It's just its own individual thing for people who want to participate, and we'll somehow make it fun, and everyone wants to come and just be educated on gay history.
And maybe we could do something just to make it entertaining, where we do it through a series of movies. We could go all the way back to Boys in the Band, which was a gay movie from the 1970s, and come and make us a list, and we can just have a series so that. And then we can have a discussion after we watch the movie. We can have a discussion to say,
make it interactive. Yes,
I think there definitely does need to be like a workshop about it, because especially with our generation, there's no communication about it.
You don't learn. You don't have History 101 in college or high school, so we need to do that. All right, we have come to the end, and I'm getting phone calls telling me I need to come home. So I'm going to let everybody just kind of wrap up. Tell us who you are, where we can find you, and where we, before we go, before we're done.
Israel Luna, lalunaentertainment.com. I'm starting my workshop this coming Monday. It's a 4-part series. And hope to see you there. You'll find more information on there on lalunaentertainment.com.
Okay, well, I'm Devin Kirshner. You can find me on Devin K Group on Instagram.
Okay, and you're in real estate?
I'm in real estate. Keller Williams, Urban Dallas.
All right, there you go.
I'm Warren, and my Instagram is Modern Mad Hatter.
And you're a student.
And he's a student. And I am Tammy Nash, and I'm the managing editor for Dallas Voice. Pick it up, read the Reader's Voice Awards this week, find out the best place to go and get whatever you want. And read some of the other stuff, read the calendars, find out what's going on. And we will see y'all next week. Yay. All right, thank you.
Bye.